What about the etymology? I hear you say I never hear you say that. I don't even know why I put it in here anymore. I need to write a better script. This week I now have 49 subscribers. If we could take it to 50, I would be terribly, terribly grateful. Thank you very much. Argy-Bargy. My mum was grown and born in the Cotswolds in Gloucestershire, which means that when she says Argy-Bargy, she rather adorably says Argy-Bargy, with all of the R's. But what does it mean and where does it come from? Because all of the search engines, what I mean by that is search engine, because all of the search engine and the majority of the websites that search engine chooses are from the United States, which is in America. Most of the definitions you'll find on the internet are slightly wrong. You see, argy-bargy is very much a British English phrase. Now, I'm not adverse to a bit of meaning drift. It happens all the time. The word sinister has obviously drifted quite a lot over the last 2,000 years. But I submit to you that the meaning of argy-bargy is not a light-hearted argument or debate. Argy-Bargy is very much somewhere between DEFCON 3 and 2 or Bikini Black Special or Bikini Amber if you're from the British military. I.e. one level below hostilities actually boiling over to fisticuffs. If you are in fact a United Stateser and you disagree with this, then that's fine. It's okay. That's how language works. It moves and it drifts around. But in this context you are simply, I'm afraid, mistaken. So, the etymology. Most sources point towards an anglicisation of the Scots argle, which is in itself, of course, well, it's a Scots version of the English argue, which is in itself a loan word from Latin. It has its roots in Latin. So, argue, argle, argy. The Scots tacked another word onto it, bargle, so the original term was argle-bargle. This was then translated back into English as argy-bargy. Now, before I looked this up, I figured that the bargy bit was basically I don't know, a contraction or an alternate version of barge, i.e. to push or move someone forcefully. But apparently not, probably. CollinsDictionary.com, which is probably a good source, says that it's probably a contraction of to bargain. Well, worldwidewords.org, you've got to love those .orgs, actually disagrees with this and says that it is, in fact, nonsense. Phrases.org also says that this is nonsense, but it's not nonsense without logic. Let me explain. This nonsense tacked on word is actually an example of something called reduplication. That is to say that the original word gains a second companion word, a rhyming word, simply for the fun of saying it. Sometimes these words mean something, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just for the fun of it, sometimes they actually have a contraction. Sometimes you can't tell whether it's a contraction or whatever because etymology isn't an exact science. It's usually just a series of stories that people have told each other and we've only just got around to actually trying to work them out. By only just, by the way, I mean relatively recently, i.e. the last 200 to 500 years, probably the last 150 to 200 years versus the last 80,000 years of complicated language between hominids. Anyway, other examples of reduplication are hoity-toity, which is to be a bit haughty or a bit of a snob, or super-duper, which is a positive exclamation of excitement, usually used by very posh people. And one we're probably all a bit more familiar with, which is mumbo jumbo, i.e. utter nonsense. Speaking of utter nonsense, how about you do a read of a story or something? Here's one right here, there you go. Have a look at that story there. It's about a psychopath. You might like it, it's sort of funny. Or how about doing a subscribe? Just click on my face and then you can look at the rest of my channel and then maybe do a subscribe. Some of the videos I've done are okay. Some of them are like this one, sort of funny and maybe a bit educational. I mean, I hope they're funny. Anyway, have a great week and I'll see you probably next week. Bye!